Hello guys, and welcome to 100 Days in Scape and Run Parasites. It's a mod that unleashes the terrifying, the gruesome, the devastating parasites. Going into this, I was pretty scared. I watched some other videos on this and they looked so creepy. You can find this mod on Cursed Forge. The link will be down below. Let's go ahead and let's get into this video. On day 1, as soon as I spawned, I went to find wood, then I went to get cobblestone, then later on I found some iron ore. My whole plan was to find a village, then stay there for a while. As soon as nighttime approached, I had no luck in finding a village, so I camped out on top of this hill and began cooking some meat. Some mobs began sneaking up on me, so I killed them, and after my meat was done cooking, I gathered my stuff, then went looking for a village. I finally found a village, but there were no beds. On day 2 through 4, I was collecting as many stuff as I could, like books, wood planks, and meat. I remember I was going to go inside this cave, but as soon as I heard weird noises, which I assumed were the parasite, I left and continued my task. On day 5, I was off to find somewhere to build a base. Usually when I'm playing a scary mod, I try to build a base on top of the ocean, so that's exactly where I was headed. I ended up finding another village and did the same things I did on day 2 through 4. On day 6, I arrived at the ocean and began building my base. On day 7 through 9, I was finishing up building my base. I made a staircase to climb up. I finished up building the second floor. I also made some fences to use as a window, and then I finished up the roof for the second floor. On day 10, I began looking around for any parasites that might have formed, but didn't see any. I traveled to the desert region and found this temple, and at the bottom I collected iron and TNT. On day 12, I decided to stay up all night at the desert village and see if any of the villagers would be infected. I began to see these flying parasites that shoot poison at you, so I decided to leave. I began fighting this one parasite while other mobs were around, and after I killed it, I left. On day 13, I went to visit the village, and though one villager got infected, the rest were not. So I removed all the doors and decided to camp at this hilltop to see what would happen. As night came, I only saw one giant parasite at the bottom. Then after a while, I decided to leave once I saw this new flying parasite approaching. I ended up fighting another flying parasite, and then it exploded and released more parasites. All in all, day 13 was pretty lit. On day 14, I started my day by killing this infected cow, and it did a considerable amount of damage. I then went back to the village and saw that none of the villagers were infected, so I planned to stay the night with them to see what would happen. We all stayed in this one building, and the plan was as soon as the parasite would come near, I would open the door and let it infect them. But the only thing that came near were the zombies. On day 15, I decided to take matters into my own hand and go into creative mode and make the parasites infect everybody. Once everybody was infected, I waited to see if anything would happen, but nothing did. I began digging down near my base and stopped once I found this cave and heard parasite noises. On day 16, as I was returning back to the village, it turned out that there was still one villager that survived. I found another village across from me, and though it was tempting to infect them, I decided to spare them. On day 17, I began planning to move to another spot. I wanted to see how the parasites would be in this new area, so I gathered more cobblestone and made stone blocks and was beginning to prepare to move to my new base. On day 18, I began digging down some more near my base. On day 19, I continued digging down and reached the number 11 coordinate. I began digging straight, hoping to find diamonds, but with no success. I did find lapis, which was still a success in my book. On day 20, I was still waiting for my stone blocks to finish in the furnace, so I went looking for more wood. As I was looking for wood, I came across infected cows. The first cow decided to release baby parasites after I killed it. Once I killed the baby parasites, I decided to kill the second cow. On day 21, I finished crafting stone blocks and began working on my new base. I was inspired by the YouTuber Winter when making this, so I began building a trench for parasites to get trapped. On day 22 through 26, I continued building the trench. I began building stone blocks around the dirt at the bottom because I was afraid they would dig through it. On day 27, I began building the walls with fences because I thought it was a good idea at the time. After this, I began adding the stone blocks as my ceiling. As night was coming, I ran back to my ocean base to rest because I was a weak punk with weak gear. On day 28, I went back to my other base and began placing more stone blocks. As time went on, I ran out and had to find more cobblestone to make more stone blocks. On day 29, I basically just sat around and waited for the stone blocks to be made. On day 30, I finished up the ceiling. I then dug below my base and began building an area for me to sleep in. On day 31, I didn't record it, so we'll just skip this day. On day 32, I began luring some chickens to my base. It didn't work because I didn't know what I was doing, so I ended up killing the chicken out of frustration. On day 33, I ended up going into creative mode and spawning 2 chickens. I wanted to create an army of chickens so that I could have feathers to make arrows. I then began planting seeds just to make some bread. There was no point of me making them, but at the time it seemed good. On day 34, I started to dig a tunnel. I wanted to build a tunnel that led far away from my base and that led to water. As I was digging, I also replaced the dirt with stones just to make sure the parasites wouldn't break in. On day 35, I finally reached my destination, which was near a sort of river, and began building an opening. On day 36, I began finishing up the tunnel entrance by adding ladders and a wooden trapdoor. I began rethinking about placing the wooden fences as my walls and began replacing the bottom fences with cobblestone. On day 37, I began finishing up filling the bottom and the top of my walls with cobblestone. On day 38, I collected lava to use if the parasites were all in one spot. I then began adding ladders to the trenches just in case I fell in. I also added extra floor levels so that I can jump over the trench and land near my base. On day 39, I went to my ocean base, gathered materials from my chest to make a bed, and was going to stay the night at my new base. I'll be honest, I was pretty scared. I didn't know what to expect, but if things got too bad, I could run into my base like a little bitch. Nighttime came, and at first, it wasn't so bad. I didn't really see anything for a while until I turned one corner and saw 2 flying parasites shooting some type of orb. I ran back to my base and began feeding my chickens. I went back outside and saw this giant parasite at the bottom, but luckily my trench was deep enough that it couldn't climb up. On day 40, I killed the beast in the trench with lava. I then proceeded to kill parasite mobs that were left. This one time some sheep parasites almost whooped my ass. I killed one sheep, but the other began inflicting some critical damage, so I ran. As nighttime came, I began feeding my chickens again. I saw another weird looking parasite that got stuck in my trench, but I wasn't going to kill it just yet. On day 41, the monster that was in my trench the previous night was gone. I then began collecting seeds to feed my chickens. Once night came, I wanted to see what new parasites would show up. One of the parasites, which looked like it resembled a cow, got stuck in my trench, but I didn't kill it just yet. On day 42, I began digging down, but stopped midway. I went back to kill the parasite in my trench, then I continued digging down. On day 43, I finished digging down to the coordinate I needed to be at. I started removing some blocks to make the walk down a lot easier. I then went back up to collect more seeds. My chickens were beginning to grow in numbers. Soon I will have an army of chickens and will have a supply of feathers and meat to last me forever. On day 44, I began making cobblestone stairs and placing them down by the downward tunnel. I began killing my chickens for feathers and meat and stored them for future purposes. On day 45, I began digging at the bottom looking for diamonds. After mining for a while, I finally came across a bunch of diamonds. Everything was going according to plan. I did some more mining, but didn't find any more diamonds. On day 46, I crafted a diamond pickaxe, then began searching for lava to make obsidian. I knew of one spot that had lava, but I couldn't find it. After a while, I finally found it, but only got cobblestone. I planned during the next day to go underground and find some there. On day 47, I went underground and made obsidian. On day 48, I began gathering my tools from my chest to make bookcases. Then I collected the remaining diamonds to make an enchantment table. I first enchanted my pickaxe with the useless efficiency enchantment. I'm not saying it has no purpose, it's just for the remaining of my days it served no purpose, but at the time it seemed good. I then proceeded to kill some more chickens. On day 49, I started my day by picking up seeds. I then crafted a bow and enchanted it with the power 2 enchantment. I went back down underground to search for diamonds. I was determined to find some and nothing was going to stop me. On day 50, I used the glass tactic to help me see through the lava, but I still didn't find any diamonds. Luckily from all the redstones I was mining, I was getting XP. Later on, I did find a few diamonds, but I had to be extra careful. One wrong move and they would fall into the lava. On day 52, I went outside to kill these parasites that were in my trench, and this happened. So I don't know how they hit me and made me fall off, but I was more mad that I lost a lot of XP. I ended up killing them, then collecting all my gear. On day 53, I continued to slay the parasites around my base with my sick ass bow. I then began collecting more flint for my arrows. On day 54, I went underground to look for diamonds but didn't find any. Nothing important happened on day 55. On day 56, collecting seeds from grass became tedious, so I went to other villages to take their seeds. Sorry, but not sorry. On day 57, I was digging near my ocean base hoping to find lapis or diamonds, but all I found was gold and iron. On day 58, I was losing hope in finding diamonds, so I began enchanting iron armor with protection enchantment. I went back underground with the hopes of finding diamonds, and I used my enchanted diamond pickaxe to mine, but I still didn't find any diamonds. I didn't find lapis, so I guess that's a win. I basically did the same thing of looking for diamonds on day 59. On day 60, I was not seeing a lot of parasites spawning near my base. I was getting a little worried, but I was too scared to go out there and look for them, so I decided I was going to stay at my base. On day 61, I began enchanting more of my gear. I then went out and killed parasites from a distance. On day 62, I was basically just enchanting my books. On day 63, I found this huge underground opening and was hoping to find diamonds underneath the lava by using glass, but the lava was too deep. I went venturing out at night. I like exploring the desert because there's less trees and you can see what's coming. I then began killing the parasites by drawing them out to the water and by killing them from a distance. On day 64, I collected more seeds from villages. On day 65, I was enchanting my books, hoping to find more protection enchantments to level up my armor. Once nighttime came, it started to rain, but little did I know I was going to run into my biggest fear, a giant spider. I ran around the corner, then went back inside my base. I peeked through my windows, but couldn't see anything. As long as I was inside, I was safe. On day 66, I switched to third person and went outside to see if the spider was still there, but it was gone. I had a feeling that wasn't going to be the last time I saw it. I saw a group of infected cows and sheep in one area just chilling and took them out from a distance one by one. I began peeking out my window to see if the spider was outside once night came, but I didn't see it. On day 67, I was adding more ladders beside the ladders that were already there in my trench, just to make climbing easier if I panicked. I then began building another area on top of my base, and building it actually went by a lot faster than I thought. Now the whole point of me putting it there was that I can have a height advantage and I can shoot parasites from the top, especially the spider. Once nighttime came, I was looking out for the spider, but didn't see it. On day 68, I went out looking for wood to build more fences and gathered more flint for my arrows. On day 69, I went exploring this new area, but I noticed that I didn't see any animals infected. I was wondering if I needed an extra mod to make them spawn more frequently. Once night came, I saw the spider again and I was going to be prepared this time. I had enough arrows and I was going to use as many as it took to kill it. Well, it turned out it only needed one arrow to kill it. All the fear I had for it, and it only took one shot. I then proceeded to kill the rest of the parasites that ventured in my trench. On day 70, I basically just collected more flint. That's all I did that day. On day 71, I walked around the area looking for any parasites to kill. Once nighttime came, I stood on top of my base and began looking for parasites, but didn't see any. At that moment, I realized I never went from this base to my ocean base at night because I was scared of the parasites. So I ended up running to my ocean base in third person, but once I got there, I decided to roam around in my boat till the next day. On day 72, I went to the old desert village that I visited earlier and killed the villager parasites. On day 73, I just killed cows for meat and leather, then I killed any parasites that I saw. On day 74, I wanted to see some parasites in action, so I decided to stay in one area and watch the parasites infect animals. If any parasites would charge towards me, I would either kill it from a distance or run away. On day 75, I was getting pretty bored and decided to roam around. Once nighttime came, I was in my boat and from a distance I saw a spider. I was still a little afraid, so I tried to shoot it from a distance. After missing a couple of shots, I finally hit it and it died with one shot. I went over to grab the XP, but its parasite homies came over and started chasing me, so I had to kill them in my boat. Then I tried to get the XP back again. After I got it, I got chased by another large parasite, and I ended up killing it the same way I killed his homies. On day 76, I installed the Blood Moon mod. It said I had a 5% chance of it starting, so I was hoping in the remaining days it would start. I decided to finish the second floor of my base by adding stone blocks to the ceiling, and after I ran out of stone, I added cobblestone. Some parasites spawned in my base, and I decided to get some long distance practice with my bow. On day 76, I got some more practice by shooting the rest of the parasites. I then went back to enchanting my books to find the right enchantments for my iron armor. On day 78, I was walking around, and then I saw a flying parasite chilling in my base. I went back to this old area I visited previously and took out a group of infected animals. Once I collected my XP, I noticed there was this new plant looking parasite that spawned. On day 79, I did nothing important. On day 80, a spider fell inside my trench and I took it out rather easily. On day 81, I killed a group of animal parasites that were chilling. I hate to break up the vibe, but I think this was necessary. On day 82, I visited this island and decided to stay here during the night. For some reason, I was feeling pretty confident and wasn't afraid of anything. It started to rain, which made it kind of blurry. Then the real battle started. So that didn't go as planned. On day 83, I went back to that island and I saw infected pigs for the first time. On day 84, I just killed the rest of the infected pigs on that island. On day 85, I continued to feed my chickens, then slaughter them all. On day 86, I changed the configuration of the Blood Moon mod to a 50% chance of showing up. I was getting pretty impatient, so I needed it to happen quicker. The blood moon didn't happen that night, so I was hoping it would happen the next day. On day 87, the blood moon didn't happen again, so I was hoping it would happen the next day. On day 88, I did my regular activities. I saw an infected wolf and proceeded to kill it. Once nighttime came, I saw the notification saying the blood moon is rising. Finally, as the sun went down, the red moon rose and everything was red. I was starting to become scared at this point. Once it was fully night, all I could hear were noises and fighting. I went to the lower side of my base and hid there for a while. I remember I sealed up the bottom floor entrance with cobblestone just to be safe. I ended up going up to see what was going on, but ultimately I just stayed in my base the rest of the night. On day 89, I went to the roof of my base to see what parasites were left. Most of them were gone, but there were still some gathered in my trench, so I got rid of them by pouring lava on them. On day 90, I found another plant-looking parasite, but this time it was bigger. I didn't want to get close to it, so I shot it from a distance. The parasite was taking a bunch of my arrow shots, but after a while it finally deceased. As nighttime was approaching, I got another notification that a blood moon was rising. This time I wanted to go into creative to see how many would spawn, and what I saw was absolutely ridiculous. There were parasites everywhere, and they were annihilating the regular mobs. On day 91, I put on my enchanted iron armor to see how it would do against parasites. But honestly, it wasn't all that great. The parasites still did a good amount of damage, and there was no way I could survive an entire night during a blood moon. On day 92, I spent most of my time killing parasites. I remember seeing this one area that was covered in this weird green stuff, so I avoided that. A blood moon spawned again, so I stayed up for a little bit, but then went to bed. On day 93, I went back to that area with the green stuff, and it turned out that the parasite plant look-alike was causing it. So I killed it, and then the ground started to change and was starting to return back to its original form. When nighttime came, luckily the blood moon didn't come. On day 94, I did nothing special. On day 95, I decided to chill at this hilltop and kill any parasites coming near me. I tried to kill this zombie parasite, and I did, but I took a lot of damage. I then proceeded to kill this giant parasite from a distance, and then I went back to my base. On day 96, I just basically killed parasites. I'm just gonna skip day 97 because nothing important happened. On day 98, I decided to go into creative mode and get diamond armor. I then began enchanting all of it with the best enchantments. After I was done, I waited till night to test it out against the mobs, and it didn't disappoint. The mobs were helpless against my enchanted diamond sword. Day 99. The big day. The day I was going to fight during the blood moon. No base, no closed doors, just me fighting for my life. I figured if things got too out of hand, I would just get in my boat and heal up. As nighttime was approaching, I saw the notification. It's time to fight. At first I was fighting regular mobs, then the parasites joined in. After a while, a bunch of them began spawning, so I jumped in the water and began killing them. The flying parasites decided to join in as well, so I rushed to land and began running away. As I was running away, more mobs decided to show up, so I hopped in my boat and tried to look for a better vantage point. While the flying parasites were shooting at me, I was shooting at the parasite carriers, which honestly wasn't really helping me at all. I found this one area and decided to camp here and kill the regular mobs. One tall parasite thought he could challenge me, but I quickly annihilated him with my axe and sword. As I was traveling in my boat, I saw a spider and proceeded to kill it. And then finally, I had to deal with the flying parasites. Sometimes when I aimed and shot my arrows at them, it would drop for some reason and it wouldn't go fully through them, which was weird. But I still took them out one by one. The sun began rising, and then the blood moon was finally over. On day 100, I killed some mobs that were near me. I then went back to my base and decided to do another blood moon. I just said, well, you know what the hell, why not just do it? Why not? It's the last day. But instead of doing it like on day 99, I just added less mobs. I ended up staying on top of my base and ended up shooting any parasites that got near me or in my trench. After a while, it kind of got pretty tedious. I already survived the blood moon, so I was pretty happy. So I just decided to end on this note. This is going to end my 100 days in Scape and Run. This mod has some highs and some lows. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, go ahead and hit that like button and click that subscribe button. Hope you have a great day. Peace.